before we start this episode, I have a warning to impart upon all of your ears. First of all, if you are driving, maybe don't while listening to this episode. If you get scared easily, perhaps protect your space before listening to this episode because we experienced so much activity. This episode is all about haunted objects in the possession of Greg and Dana Newkirk, who own the Newkirk Museum of the Paranormal and are actually about to go on tour and do the haunted objects live. So if you like what you hear, and if you survive what you hear in this episode, we highly recommend checking them out on tour because Corinne and I will be there. Greg and Dana are two of the world's only full-time paranormal investigators, and they have spent their lives collecting and caring for cursed artifacts, possessed dolls, and some objects that we're about to talk about that perhaps don't like being spoken about. In the incredible live show, the Newkirks will take you on a journey and tell you untold truths about famous paranormal cases. And they will also tell you about how they broke the curse of the infamous Crone of Catskills, which is featured in their amazing documentary, The Unbinding. Plus, you'll get to come face to face with some of the most iconic haunted artifacts that perhaps maybe we talk about in this episode and help Dana and Greg manifest two new, eerie, familiar spirits with the power of your mind. That's not terrifying. It's kind of like the Philip experiment. Go to newkirktour.com for tickets and maybe we'll see you there. But until then, may the odds ever be in your favor as you listen to this haunted episode. If you would like to skip the chit chat, jump to probably 11 or 12 minutes in and good luck.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two girls, one ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That is Corinne.
Hello.
And I am Sabrina. Hello. And the adventure to recording today was quite the long one.
I know. Oh my gosh. You know, there are benefits of electric vehicles, but then there are drawbacks, which is...
Right. Charging.
You having to stop and charge them so frequently. It's a bummer. But you're here now.
And we were at like a supercharger and it wasn't a supercharger. And so we were like, okay, well, we're here. Let's let it charge. And then, of course, we had to stop again. And you know what? We made it. We're here.
You're here. I have a cracked lip.
Always.
So
is that like a dehydration thing or is it just a thing?
I think it's like a pregnancy thing. Like I just cannot get enough water. I drink all day, every day. I pee every 25 minutes.
I've been like that lately too.
Yeah.
I'm not pregnant, so...
I don't know. Maybe you're having like phantom pregnancy symptoms from spending
time
with me.
Was about to say that I think I sometimes have sympathy pregnancy with you.
I think you do. Yeah. No, the cracked lips are definitely, it's been a thing recently. And then this is looking as bad as it is because I did pick them, which the other day when we were on Campfire Stories, you were like, are you wearing lipstick? And I was like, actually, it's blood.
It's blood. Mm-hmm.
My lips are just fully blood.
Just bloody.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of anxiety too. Just picking at them.
Yeah.
A little bit of stress.
I get that.
That's okay.
I do that.
Did we say that this is Two Girls, One Ghost? Did we already do that?
Yeah, we did all of that.
Okay.
Look at us.
All right. We're here.
Oh my gosh. Can you...
fine.
Okay. You have to tell everyone what you dropped on me at Campfire Stories and had like acted as if you had told me.
Because I couldn't remember if I did or not. Because my brain doesn't work anymore. And there's so many things happening in life that I can't prioritize like what's important or what I haven't told people.
So tell everyone.
Okay. Well, I feel like there was an episode where I was like, Brian and I have decided we're going to get a dog. We put a down payment. A down payment. Is that what it's called?
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, deposit.
We reserved a spot to have a dog. There are these local North Shore to Massachusetts. There's a couple that have 4 French bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those bulldogs have sex and sometimes they have litters. And so we put ourselves on the wait list for one of the litters. We have no idea when it's going to happen because it's not like a traditional kind of breeding situation where they more clearly know when things are going to happen. So sometime between fall of 2024 to like maybe early summer 2025, there's probably going to be a litter. And yeah, we're going to get a Frenchie when it happens.
You're going to have a baby and a Frenchie around the same time.
A little potato. But I couldn't remember because you were talking on Campfire Stories about Leia being really mouthy and chatty. And then I was thinking about how loud Frenchies can be. And I was like, wait, did I tell you that we're going to get a Frenchie?
No, you did
I
not.
couldn't remember.
You did not. You forgot to tell me that. But thank you for finally telling me. I'm really excited for you.
Thank you. I'm excited too. It's one of those things though where it's like, you know, it could be over a year from now.
Sure. I think a lot of people have experienced that when they purchase dogs, whereas when you rescue, you can literally come home from the pound. I need to find my kitten foster place in Massachusetts. Like, where am I going to be fostering from?
I don't know. I'm sure there's a million around here.
I know. I started looking it up. So if anyone has recommendations of pet fostering, kitten, cat fostering in the Salem, Massachusetts area or Essex County, Massachusetts, let me know because I am looking for some kitties.
Some black cats.
Hi, me, Sabrina again. I just wanted to jump in real quick, and I'm going to do this a couple times this episode, but because we recorded so early, I hadn't yet found a foster or a cat organization to work with, but I have now. It's called Pals, and if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen the adorable Poe and Shelly, which are 2 black kittens that I was fostering, and they are available for adoption, pictured here if you're watching on YouTube. They are so freaking cute, you guys. And they need a home. They are available for adoption at the PetSmart in Salem, Massachusetts. But if you want to adopt them, fill out an application on the website. It is linked in the show notes. And the Instagram is pals_animal_life_savers. Also linked in the show notes.
I'm going to just like fully tell someone else's information on here. But I was on Facebook because, Facebook Marketplace exists. That's pretty much the extent of me using it. But I see what people post in our 2 Girls, One Ghost. This popped up on the feed and I was like, wait a second, I feel a little bit invested now. So this was posted by Amanda. Facebook obviously has more of your full name, but I won't out that. So people can join our Facebook group. The password, the keyword that you're asked in the prompt is Leia. So if you're struggling to figure that out, it's Leia to get in. Amanda posted, "Hey, so my husband and I and our 2 dogs moved into an old house built in 1908 back in August. We didn't get any weird vibes from the place or anything, but one night a hanging light broke in our kitchen in a very weird way, and sometimes I swear I hear footsteps upstairs. So one night in December when we were sleeping in our bed, our Alexa started whispering. Alexa won't go into whisper mode unless someone whispers to her first, so we just thought it was weird, and then we went back to sleep. But then I discovered you can go into the Alexa app and actually see/hear who is talking to her.
Yeah, you can see the commands.
What we found. So in the video, you can see that on December 28th, there's some moments where they're asking basically like the Alexa saying like, Alexa, turn on Christmas tree, like turn on music or whatever. But then at 3:28 a.m., it says audio could not be understood. And then again at 3:28 a.m., and this is in their bedroom, master bedroom. Audio could not be understood, and then you can play it.
Alexa could break off. Alexa could break off.
And it sounds like Alexa good work off is what like the dictation picked up. But people in the comments have been hearing other things. They said legs could break off. Alexa can fuck off. Alexa break off. And it's creepy because, okay, so the last thing Amanda wrote was, that voice does not belong to my husband or me, and we're not sure what he was trying to say. So creepy, but it hasn't happened since.
Well, it's for sure a man. You can tell it's a male voice. I hate that it's whispering. It's also so creepy that Alexa's picking it up, but the audible ear cannot hear it.
Right, or they were asleep.
Oh, that's true.
They were asleep. So like Alexa was triggered because of him whispering, this guy whispering, and then Alexa started.
But didn't they wake up?
They woke up because Alexa started whispering, which happens when someone whispers to Alexa. Yeah. So he said, whatever, legs could break off, Alexa good work off, whatever it was, in a whisper. And then Alexa whispered back, which is what woke them up.
I wonder if it's the spirit trying to wake them up, like saying, Alexa, wake them up.
Ew, that's ominous. It's just so clear. It's very creepy. Like he's right there. You can hear the background noise of the room and everything. And I'm like, people are not as freaked out by this. Like people need to react more to this post because this is freaking me out.
I honestly agree. It's terrifying. Yeah. That's so scary. I mean, any device that can listen is unsettling. Any device that can catch things like Ring cameras or any pet cameras that catch things, you're simultaneously grateful for it because then you're like, okay, I knew that there was something here. I am not crazy. But then you have the proof and the evidence that there is something there. And what do you do with it? No.
Yeah, it's awful. Also, wait, I just got my first spam. Is it called spam? Maybe scam call this morning that I actually answered because we're expecting so many deliveries that I just like have started answering phone calls from random numbers, which I normally don't do.
Uh-huh.
And it was from El Segundo, California, which like I've lived there before. So,
Right.
and there's a million different warehouses and companies out there. So it's like, oh, easily one of these things could be from El Segundo. And I answered it and this guy is like, hi, this is like, are you expecting a package from Mexico? And so then immediately I thought P.O. box.
Right.
And I was like, no, we're not. And then he was like, okay, this is Corinne Vienne. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so you're not expecting anything from Mexico and you haven't been to Mexico recently? And I was like, no. And then he's like, okay, well, I'm calling from customs and we received a package that's marked for you, but it does contain some stuff that was flagged and is not being permitted into the US. So I'm going to give you some important information right now. And I just went, hold on. I think that this is a scam. And he goes, ma'am, this is not a scam. And I just hung up. And then he didn't call back.
The defensiveness of, ma'am, this is not a scam is the giveaway.
Right. And then also I was like, do they just call you and say like, hey, here's your heads up to flee the country for all the illegal substances you're trying to cart over the border?
Yes.
I was like, no, they wouldn't do that. So clearly.
They have those texts that they send that like you just have to pay like $1, but then they have your credit card information. And then, you know.
Right.
Because it says your package can't be delivered. Like pay this $1 delivery fee. You guys, scams are scary.
They are.
If a package can't get delivered to you and you're expecting something, reach out to that company. Or
right.
If you're not expecting it, then you know what? It doesn't get to you and you didn't expect it anyway.
You didn't know
what
it was coming anyway.
You didn't know it was coming.
It is what it is. But I was so confused at first because of everything that just happened with the P.O. box where it was like,
yeah,
FedEx called and they were like, you need to come pick this up. We can't deliver to the P.O. box. And then the P.O. box was like, oh, oopsie, we screwed up with your new P.O. box. And we actually, instead of sending all of your mail to the new P.O. box, we've just sent it all back to everyone who ever sent you something in the past like month.
Rude. That's so
I was like,
rude.
how the fuck do you screw that part up?
That's a massive mess up.
I know. I was so frustrated when that happened. So it was just like one of those things where I was like, well, this would be something that I would start a conversation. Like I actually would be like,
Yeah.
okay, wait, what is this about? Because I've just in the past few weeks had so much happen to me with the mail.
Right. So it was on your mind.
They almost got me.
They must have
They
known.
almost did.
That's how they get people.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Something else sometimes comes in the mail. And not to us, but to our friends Greg and Dana Newkirk.
Mm-hmm.
Haunted objects arrive in the mail for them. And sometimes it is because they've had discussions with people about receiving their haunted objects to take them off of their hand. Sometimes it is a surprise to them.
I think oftentimes it's a surprise to them.
Yes. But nonetheless, Greg and Dana Newkirk are collectors of haunted objects. We interviewed them on a Haunted With episode back in, what was that, November? No, that was, what time
No,
of year?
it was recent. It was this year. It was 2024. It was in the spring.
Was it January,
Right?
February,
One of
March,
those.
April, May? Where are we now? I don't know.
Earlier in the year.
Look at me. I can name off the months of the year. Woo! If you didn't already know, we're obsessed with them. I think a lot of people who listen to that episode or already know of them are also equally as obsessed and in admiration of them as humans, as a couple, and as spooky lovers. So we were like, let's go down the rabbit hole of haunted objects in their possession and talk about them.
Yes. So they have a collection of items in their possession, some of which they bring on tour. And they're actually on tour this year, I think right now. So you can look up the newkirkstour.com, I think is their tour website. Or you can just check out the Haunted Objects podcast, which is a seasonal podcast where they discuss a lot of they know way more than us, like a lot
so
of
much more
background and history and conspiracies surrounding certain objects or really infamous cases or topics of the paranormal, which you can watch on their Patreon.
Their Patreon, you guys, their Patreon is incredible. They do haunted investigations. They do like weekly check-ins. They do so many, they just discuss objects that they found. Like in doing research for this episode, I was just going down the rabbit hole. Like I went back all the way to 2017 on their Patreon and found some stuff.
Oh yeah. And Dana does a lot of like magical.
Oh, she's a witch.
Magic work, just like with people on Patreon and on their YouTube. And they're very accessible people.
We're obsessed.
And they do really, really cool stuff, but they have so many objects in their possession. And when we went to the Conjuring House, we were very lucky in that they brought one of those objects with us, or with them, to us,
Mhm.
the scrying mirror, which we did
Yes.
discuss on some previous episodes. So we have also been in contact, physically touched one of their items.
We have. We used it too. Actually, this is a great transition because one of the objects I picked is very similar to the scrying mirror, but it's not the scrying mirror that we used.
Oh,
This is
okay.
one that they actually don't bring like anywhere because bad stuff happens. So this is called the Well of Intentions, which is a scrying dark mirror. Also, I feel like we should play that video that we played during our tour of what we brought and what Greg and Dana brought.
Classic. Oh, no, I do have one more.
Brought a haunted object with us.
Do a little dark mirror scrying.
We looked into that scrying dark mirror. It's an object that they bring with them on many traveling museum events, and many people have gazed into it like we did. But they also are in possession of another scrying mirror that they do not travel with or have other people interact with. It is the Well of Intentions, a scrying mirror that Greg and Dana obtained in 2017 from the incredibly haunted Hinsdale House in New York. And I want to do a whole episode on this house because there was like botched exorcisms, potential murders. Have you heard of this house?
God, no.
I had never either, but Greg and Dana did an investigation. So on this post on their Patreon, they were talking about how there are all these different ways that they obtain objects. And one of the more rare ways that they obtain objects is through actual investigations of haunted places. And I'm not 100% clear on this, but I think either this mirror was in the house or Greg and Dana and the investigators who they went with built this mirror specifically for their Hinsdale House investigation.
That's what I love about them. I feel like there's such like youthful, childlike energy sometimes going into the investigations where it's just like, what if we try this? What if we do this? What if we build this machine? What will happen? Like there's so much experimenting and it makes it so
100%.
fresh and so fun.
And I think because the paranormal realm is so, there aren't any answers, it is one of those places where you can try things and you never know what's going to happen. And maybe part of it is your intention of, hey, we know this type of like object does this sort of thing. What if we build a new one so it's not bringing any baggage from anywhere else and just see what happens?
Yeah.
So just a little bit of synopsis of the house before I explain the mirror. The Hinsdale House is in rural New York, and there was a botched exorcism that took place there in the mid-70s. And ever since there have been so many hauntings and horrific events, and is considered one of the most haunted places in the state of New York. So according to the post from August 2017 on their Patreon, Greg and Dana wrote the following. The 3 foot by 2 foot, this is a big scrying mirror, 3 foot by 2 foot,
Holy
big,
shit.
was painstakingly created using a combination of traditional esoteric methods and a week-long 5-person ritual designed to imbue the mirror with specific intentions for specific results. While the Well of Intentions was intended as a tool to commune with the spirits in Hinsdale, it was also created to counteract the effects of a Dybbuk box, which was in our possession for the better part of a year. So basically, it does sound like they created it.
Okay. Yeah.
Within minutes of using this mirror at the Hinsdale house in the kitchen, people investigating started seeing dark figures appear in the mirror. Even like the camera crew that was there, everyone was witnessing like shadows and things moving in the mirror when no one was moving, or there was no way that would be happening. It was multiple figures. So like they would kind of come in slow, but then they started twisting and distorting and dancing like smoke. And then occasionally a man with a beard would rise to the surface. So it was like there were many different spirits, but this one bearded man kind of kept coming forward.
Okay. It's so weird that you can make something and it's just a conduit for activity. I mean, I guess that's like Ouija boards and any sort of divination tool, but it just blows my mind that they're like, here's this mirror or what looks to be a mirror. And then all the spirits are like, wahoo!
We can come
showing
through.
up.
But so this man with the beard kept coming through, and no one in human form at the house during the investigation had any type of facial hair. So they knew for a fact it was not anyone there with them. And they moved along through the investigation. They brought the Well of Intentions mirror up to the 2nd floor. And that's when the intensity of what was happening became a lot darker. Multiple people would report seeing the same faces at the same time. Many of them had frozen, distorted, and uncomfortable smiles, which is when we do the Hinsdale House case. Apparently, that is like a very specific note. Like that is
Ew.
common. Yeah.
I don't like that. That seems really dark.
And then the mirror started to like show a path into a foresty area that looked eerily similar to the forest behind the house. So it was almost painting a picture.
Ew. It's like trying to lure them outside.
Yeah, go follow this path.
Yuck.
And while using the mirror in the Well of Intentions, they caught so many EVPs. There was one instance where an investigator knocked on the mirror and the mirror knocked back.
That's like every scary movie ever. That is such a big fear.
Yeah,
Oh,
as if like your
God.
reflection basically starts to move on its own.
Or just getting trapped in the mirror too. It's one of those things where I feel like I could just get really lost and have these trippy thoughts about like, am I even me? Or am I the clone and the real me is trapped in the mirror? Like, I feel like I could really just
Go
lose
down
myself.
the dark mirror rabbit hole. Yes.
Yeah.
But basically, that's what it shared on the post. I'm sure they've had way more interactions with the Well of Intentions. But after this investigation, I think they did take it to a couple of events. And then they were like, no, we can't take this anywhere anymore. And so now it currently resides behind Billy's altar at the Weird HQ, where it remains highly active.
Oh, wow.
Ominous.
Which we did an episode on Billy the Idol as well.
And I imagine the two of them next to each other, like, what is happening?
I know.
Yeah.
Kind of feel bad for Billy, to be honest. Yikes. Okay. Well, thank God they didn't freaking bring that to the Conjuring House.
I think that would have been a lot harder to travel with. It's not a small piece to travel with.
Right. I'm glad that they don't.
But that is the Well of Intention.
The Well of Intentions. I am so curious. We'll have to ask them next time we catch up with them. They have so many items. So it's like each item kind of needs, sometimes it needs to be learned. It needs its own things. It needs its own like protections. How busy is this part of their home? Like or their museum. Like I'm thinking how many trinkets and like things have to be surrounding every single item to keep it protected and keep it behaved.
And I feel like you have to do some trial and error too, of like where specific things go. Didn't they say they keep their cats out of there?
Yes.
Like the cats don't even want to go down there, but like just to be safe, let's keep them away from this.
Yeah. They don't need to mess with that. And also the cats would probably knock off all the trinkets and then you'd be like, oh my God, now everything is chaos.
How fun would it be to go visit that? Like, should we go stay at their house? We're inviting ourselves.
I think, well, I mean, they do travel with the items. I think that there's probably some things in the future where we might all get to go visit some of those items.
That's true.
Pretty soon.
Dang.
Okay. Well, I did not go on their Patreon for any of mine. I just went on their website.
My other two are on the website too.
I don't know any of the like ins and outs or details of what they've been experiencing other than what they've shared like publicly on their website.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's probably some little treasure troves on Patreon, which I'll have to look up later. But I did want to say that when I was researching this, when I was writing the 3 objects I picked to talk about, look, maximum I would make it 60 seconds into writing on my Word document before the whole entire sheet would just flash white and all the words would be gone. And then I'd have to restart it and then the words would be there again. So I suffered through writing this.
I don't like this
I would
at
get
all.
one sentence, if that, at a time, the whole time. I know, it was really freaky.
Are you not taking that as a warning that we should not be talking about?
Well, there's one particular one that was definitely like way worse with the flashing, which I think is the one that was controlling this.
Are you going to do that one now or when are you going to do that one?
Well, I guess there's no real order. What do you want?
I kind of want it now.
I'll do it at the end.
No,
so
do it now because
skip it if they're scared.
Well, do it now because what if it doesn't want to be talked about? Here are my different opinions. Do it now because if there is hauntings that occur, then there's more potential in the episode for a haunting to occur. But then the alternate is if it doesn't want to be talked about, is it going to mess with our entire recording?
Right. Is it going to like corrupt the rest of the stories?
You do you. You pick.
I'll throw it in the middle. I'll do it in the middle.
There we go.
I have 3 objects. I'll do it somewhere in between. Number 2. But we will start with my first one, which is the Little Liar painting. I feel like we've referenced this before, maybe just like
I think we have
in conversation of different haunted paintings that are out there or that Greg and Dana have in their possession, but we've never actually covered it. it's kind of a quicker story too. I don't know how much there is that is really known about this, but Illinois residents Jamie and April Allen, they donated the painting to the Newkirk's museum after what happened to their child when the painting was in their possession. So the painting appears to be very unassuming. It's simply quite beautiful, actually. It's pretty stunning. It's like just this little precious girl, and she's wearing a white dress, and she has this collared neckline and puffy sleeves. There's innocence in her eyes. She's got this really lovely golden curly hair that's kind of framing her face around her rosy cheeks and a wide brim hat. And then she's descending these stairs, and you can see like a peek of her little boot, and she's holding like a wicker basket and a bunch of flowers in the wicker basket. Like it appears like she's coming from the garden, right?
Right.
It's really lovely. I think it's supposed to be serene and peaceful. So the painting is neatly bound in a gold frame. It has this sage mat around it. It's something that if I saw it at a thrift store, I would probably buy it, right? So Jamie and April are like, what a perfect addition to our home. Let's place this right on our wall, our proud art find.
Because it is cute.
It is cute. You wouldn't think anything of it, really.
She looks innocent.
In comparison to some of them. But this little girl, she's not just some innocent little girl to put on display. No, this painting or this little girl is haunted by something much darker.
Oh, no.
The very night that they hung their painting, this couple tucked their 8-year-old daughter into bed and they turned out the lights. And soon their little daughter heard whispers. It was quiet at first, but increasingly more assertive. And the message was dark and unsettling. The voice whispered, "Mommy and Daddy don't love you." And night terrors persisted. Finally, the painting and the entity, after all this time of like these dark whispering messages and the night terrors and their kid being terrorized, they were like, let's rehome this painting and the entity attached to it, and we're going to send this off to the Newkirks. And that is where it ends on their website. So I have no idea if they've experienced anything from the painting, but this painting surely does not like kids or just appreciates creating some fear, which I do think it's pretty hard to rock Greg and Dana. So it's probably in the best hands.
100%. Well, because it's interesting to me because on their website, they probably only have like 20 to 30 objects listed, but we both know, and I think everyone who knows the Newkirks know, that they have way more objects in their possession.
Way more. Mm-hmm.
But I think these are probably the ones that they do bring on tour with them sometimes.
Traveling.
So yeah, they're like the more notable ones in their collection. But yeah, man, I also would be so tempted. This is why I don't collect haunted objects like Greg and Dana, because I would be so tempted to be like, okay, well, like, should I try to sleep with this in my room tonight and see what happens before I put it in the collection?
Well, you have a haunted object. It's still in my office right now.
Oh, wait, I didn't get it. Oh,
I asked if you wanted to take home your stuff. And
I
you
know,
were like,
I
in a few weeks.
Right. I forgot that I was in there.
I was like, here's your spooky book. Here's your haunted object. Here's all the stuff in the P.O. box. And you're like, later.
Well, because you had a bag of like a bunch of stuff. And I was like, this is overwhelming. Let me move into the house first. That's how, okay, so the next few that I have too, like it is kind of a quick blurb, but we don't know what Greg and Dana have experienced since.
There's a mystery.
Okay, well, this is also a painting of, well, it's not a painting, but it's an art piece. This is Smiley the Clown.
No, I hate this. They have so many clowns in their possession. When we did our episode with them, they literally showed us the box of clown figurines, like porcelain clowns.
Well, I'm really curious if the episode that they did where they dressed up as clowns and like did the whole like clown episode, if Smiley the Clown was a part of it. Okay, so this was donated to the Newkirks anonymously, or the people who donated it wanted to leave their names out of it. So what we do know is that a group of students at Miami University, they were moving into an apartment and they were like, let's go to like a Goodwill or you know, an antique shop basically to find random pieces.
Yes. They're going thrifting. They got to find some affordable decor.
Exactly. And they found this like funny addition to what they thought would be a funny addition to their apartment. It's this piece of art made of yarn and seemed creepy but funny, like in a Kristen Bell's house in The Good Place being decorated with all clown art type of way.
Yeah. It's making me think of my brother and his college roommates because this is so something they would do.
Right.
Like they would go to TJ Maxx and see like a giant Nutcracker figurine of like the Grinch as a dog and be like, perfect, and bring it home.
Right.
Just because it's random.
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 Yeah. And it's funny and it's a conversation piece when people come over in college.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is Miami University in Ohio. They go home and they hang up Smiley the Clown on their wall. Think nothing of it. They go about their lives as college students. They probably study a little bit that day, go grab a drink or, get drunk, whatever. Then they come home and they go to bed. Immediately that evening, they began to experience horrible sleep paralysis. And I think I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3 roommates, but all of them experience it, but they don't talk about it for days because at first it happens. It's a little weird. They can't move,
Yeah.
but they're like, they don't think anything of it. But then every single night, same thing. And then
All of them?
all of
Or
them.
I'm wondering if it's going from like one person to the next or if it's just all of them all at once.
Well, in the sleep paralysis, they cannot move. They're paralyzed. But what's more terrifying is this dog-eyed humanoid figure staring at them. And so
Ugh.
if they're sleeping in their bed, they're paralyzed. This figure is, let's say, at the end of their bed. Every
Mhm.
night, it slowly gets closer and
Oh
closer
my God.
and closer.
No. So creepy.
They don't talk about it. It keeps happening. And each night, the entity gets closer and closer to their paralyzed bodies until it was literally climbing on top of their beds and on top of their helpless bodies.
No. Would you rather it be a clown or would you rather it be this like dog humanoid figure?
I'd rather it be a clown because then I could know, I would be like, oh, it's 100% this clown painting.
Right. Or you just actually have words to describe it, like it is a clown.
Sure. But I mean, either is terrifying.
Yeah.
So finally, it's so intolerable. It's happening to everyone. They're clearly suffering. Their sleep is dwindling. They are struggling. They finally
Mhm.
open up about it and talk about it. And they all describe this entity the exact same way to one another. It is happening to them all in the exact same way. And I think it was 3 weeks of enduring the nightmare of Smiley the Clown that they sought the help of Greg and Dana. And they asked them to remove it. They didn't care what happened to it as long as it was not with them anymore. So Greg and Dana retrieved the item. They apparently traveled with it a few times on tour, but they don't travel with it all the time. And I looked on their Patreon. I couldn't find any specific investigations with Smiley the Clown, but
Yeah.
it's definitely in their possession still.
Oh my God. I'm not even afraid of clowns, but haunted clowns? No thanks.
Right. I think just seeing a clown out and about is weird. There's a
Yeah.
man in Santa Monica who dresses up as a clown on 3rd Street and just wanders around and kind of is out there all day. But I've only really seen him do clown stuff once. And I'm like, that's creepy.
That is creepy. I also feel like the way that I view hauntings, most people, or I shouldn't say most people, but like a lot of people are afraid of clowns, just like a lot of people are afraid of spiders or snakes. It's like one of those things that's in the category of fears.
100%.
And so I feel like for any entities or spirits or whoever to choose a clown to haunt, that means that they're excited and eager to provoke fear.
100%.
So it already makes me hesitant of who is attaching or
Right.
what is attaching themselves to these objects.
And I'm not here to, I think a lot of people have their strong opinions about clowns. I don't necessarily think they're frightening. I think that they've been used to portray frightening things. And then there's a lot
Yeah.
of horror stories in the past of it. But I am very curious about why people, and if anyone here listens, likes to perform as a clown, I'm really curious. What is the draw?
I don't know, costumes, the joy of clowning. I'm thinking of Cam from Modern Family, so I feel like I have a great example of just like
Sure.
a nice, silly clown. And then
But
I
even
have
he's
also
scary.
American
as a
Horror
clown.
Story clown. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not afraid of clowns either. I honestly think I'd be more like if there was someone dressed as a clown and someone dressed just like as their regular selves and stared at me in the middle of the street, just like stopped and turned and started rushing at me, I'd be more afraid of the person that's not in costume.
Well, also, it's probably easier to get away from the one that is in costume because clown shoes are famously
Right.
oversized.
They're cumbersome, that whole costume.
Yeah. Those outfits are not meant for running fast. Those, if anything, they parachute and hold you back. But a human.
And it also feels like something that they might do to, like, as a joke, right? It's
Sure.
a joke. Whereas
Leaning
just
in.
a person running at you, you're like,
What do you want?
yeah, let me just disappear in this very second.
I mean, I don't want either.
You have to choose one. It's your fate.
Okay, I choose a clown running at me.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about the object that was making my screen
Oh,
flash
no.
an exceptional amount.
Okay.
And this is the corrupted testament, a religious artifact.
I feel like my light on my screen just changed. And I don't know if it's because of the
Oh,
sunlight
I hate that.
or if I'm scared and just looking for things.
Yeah. This one is very scary. Okay. So this testament, it belonged to a New York-based deliverance minister in the early 1800s. And for years, this testament, this minister, he would drag the testament around to various events and congregations, and it would be thrown on the foreheads of those who were afflicted. Are you fucking kidding me? Sabrina, are you there?
What? Yes. Corinne?
Oh my God. Wait.
What?
I wonder if that happened on the screen on actual recording. We're not talking about this. I think I need to stop.
What happened?
I actually think I need to stop. Your video, the whole thing became pixelated. I was about to screen record. I have no idea if it picked it up on Riverside.
Holy shit.
We're done. We're not talking
We're
about
done.
it.
Oh my God.
We're done.
I need a second. I need to stand up.
That was fucking crazy. I'm scared.
I'm so uncomfortable.
I'm so sorry. I will not talk about you anymore. I promise. Sorry for not heeding your warning, but I take you seriously and I respect your boundary, and we will not talk about you anymore.
I'm sending a voice note to Greg and Dana right now.
Tell them I'm scared. I need to see. We have to watch that back and see if that happened.
Holy shit.
You guys, the craziest thing just happened. Corinne and I are recording an episode that comes out in September, and we're talking about a bunch of objects from your haunted museum. And Corinne starts talking about the corrupted testament. And I'm not going to say more about that right now, but apparently during the research, there was so much stuff that happened. And then as we were recording, the entire screen went black. Weird things just started happening. We decided we're not talking about it any further. But what the heck? What is up with this? Help us.
Howdy. Hi, jumping in again. So yeah, this was terrifying. We sent that voice note to Greg and Dana, and they put exclamation marks in response. And Greg said, "What? That's ... Very, very weird. Is everything back to normal now?" And we were like, yeah, but clearly something didn't want us to talk about it. And they just were so chill about it, kind of like, whatever. But they are also excited to listen to this episode because they're curious what the heck is happening.
Okay. Would you like to hear about a different object called
I
the
would
Black
love
Hen
to.
Planchette? Okay.
Yeah. I still feel really uncomfortable. Can we do like a quick, like a intention clearing the space
Sure.
situation?
I just did my apologies. Do you
Okay.
want to set the space?
Yeah. We want to make it very clear right now that we are protected by a light of positivity, that nothing negative or dark or malicious is welcome here or invited into this space. We are children of light. We are positive humans, and in discussing the paranormal, we only want to discuss it. We do not want to invite anything. We're only curious. We would like to get to know you and express you and share you with the world, but we do not invite anything into our space, into our lives, or into our bodies. We are protected.
Thank you. I will certainly be cleansing tonight.
Yeah.
All right. So the Black Hen Planchette. This is an item that, let's hope nothing happens on the video when we talk about this one. But it does seem very creepy because the Black Hen Planchette is a planchette, which is associated with a Ouija board. And we have long sworn off, well, I've more sworn off than Sabrina has sworn off Ouija boards. They do freak me out. And the planchette itself is there is some dark energy surrounding it. Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a kind of a quick one. We'll just do a lot of like touching grass and cleansing after this. And
Okay.
everyone else should too.
Yeah. Stop driving if you're driving, or stop listening if you're driving. Stop driving. Just stop driving.
Or just, don't be in your house. I don't know. Run out. Run to your neighbors. Couldn't figure haunted over there. Okay. So in the early 90s, there was this group of teenagers. They bought a Ouija board. And they brought this Ouija board, or actually, I don't know how they came in possession of the Ouija board, but they brought a Ouija board to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Illinois. The group appeared to be a bit successful in using the Ouija board, and they made contact with the dead. But oddly, they could not get anything out of any of the spirits who came forward except for these words, Black Hen. Frustrated, the teens then tried again and again, asking new questions, rephrasing their questions, trying to get new spirits to come up. But each time, the planchette would scrape over the letters B-L-A-C-K H-E-N, Black Hen. And eventually, after I don't know how many black hens, the board caught on fire. And they are understandably freaking the fuck out. They're running up, they're jumping up,
and
they're
then also they
scattering,
didn't
they're
say
screaming.
goodbye.
Exactly. They literally didn't. They screamed for their lives and they ran out of that cemetery. The very next day, so they just abandoned it. Didn't close out, didn't say goodbye. It was on fire. They were terrified.
Yeah.
The very next day, they returned to the cemetery. Or I guess, I don't think all of them returned, but I know that the person who originally owned the board returned to go see if she could grab what was left of the board, if anything. And she found that the planchette was mostly intact, but the board was severely charred. And when she got home, she dumped the board in the trash because it was ruined, right? Like,
Oh, no.
it was done. The next day, the board is no longer in the trash. It is back with her.
Stop.
It appeared charred, but ready to play.
Ready to play. I hate that.
Yeah, it was like, let's go. So it refused to remain in the trash no matter what she did. And so this group of teens, they began to experience more and more terror. Random nosebleeds would find each one of them. Flies would infest their spaces. Shadowy figures lurked amongst each of their childhood homes, and a dark energy seemed to follow them. They sought the help of someone who could heal them from this burden of this dark energy, and it did seem to work for a bit. And the cleansing basically stopped all of this strange activity, and the board and planchette were bound and buried in the backyard together for 2 decades.
Wait, that's a long time.
Yep. That is until the original owner, who we can presume was probably in her 30s at this time, 20 years later, she goes and she digs it back up. She does not want to dig it up to play with it. She just simply does not need this sort of thing in this memory, in this energy,
Right. Okay.
in this backyard.
Sure.
So she digs it up and she decides to donate it to the Newkirk's museum. And I believe I read that Greg and Dana do experience sometimes curiously wondering if the sounds that they're hearing in the middle of the night is the sound of the planchette scraping.
Oh.
But we're still left with the question, who or what is the Black Hen?
A black hen. Something fucking dark, that's for sure.
Yep. Yeah.
Also, how do Greg and Dana know what anything is that happens in their house with how many haunted objects that they do have, you know?
Right? Yeah. How do they know it's a planchette and not just like a Barbie doll finger just being like against like the haunted mirror or whatever?
Right. Also, I keep seeing like weird things on my screen and I cannot tell if it's just because the lighting is changing because there's a window right here, which is my light source. And so if a cloud comes, obviously this like the lighting will change. But I keep seeing like something right in front of my face, which is what I first started seeing when you were covering.
I don't like that. Well, I can't see it on my end.
And then I also can't tell if it's just like bad like video quality.
Yeah. So creepy.
I have one last one to talk about and then we have listener stories. And this is called the Conjuring Crystal. And it's a little scary, but it's actually not as scary. So I think this is a good one of the Newkirk's things to end on.
Okay, good.
Again, donated anonymously, but the crystal ball originated in Mississippi and belonged to, anonymous to us, but someone who was a prominent psychic in the 1960s. And she accredited much of her psychic abilities to her spirit guide that she had contacted and communicated with through this crystal ball. But something happened at some point in the psychic's life and she kind of made this like massive pivot where all of a sudden she realized or believed that her spirit guide was actually the devil. And she turned to Christianity and she was terrified of the crystal ball and everything that her spirit guide had been telling her and guiding her.
I wonder what happened or what series of events happened to make her realize that or think that she was realizing
or believe that. Right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it could just be maybe she learned something that about spirituality and opening yourself up brought some negative things too, or I don't know. I don't know. Basically, she was like, I'm done with any psychic connection. I'm cutting this off. I'm turning to Christianity and religion and turning to God in her mind. She passed away at an older age. And when her son was cleaning out her home, he was surprised to find the Conjuring Crystal still in her possessions. Like, why did she not get rid of it? But maybe perhaps she thought keeping it was safer than disposing of it. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway.
Keeping it and not using it so that it doesn't seek
its
energy or influence elsewhere.
Right. But he finds it and he's like, well, I know all the stories my mom used to tell me, and I'm really curious about it. Like maybe he didn't fully believe it was the devil that she was communicating with. So he begins to try to use this tool of divination, and immediately the doors in the house start slamming, lights start flickering, things like start getting thrown.
Mm-hmm.
And he believed it was his mother's spirit coming back to say, don't you dare. I've warned you. Don't you dare.
Stop before it's too late.
Yeah. Or in my mind, I'm like, was it the spirit guide who was abandoned for so many years that's finally like all this energy is just like bursting out of the crystal ball?
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's the Conjuring Crystal.
That is
of all.
curious because it is kind of like genie in a bottle sort of situation where it's
Right,
like
was
are
it
they
trapped?
busting out? Like how much has been contained that now that there's not some sort of like bound on this crystal, it can just kind of explode into energy.
Yeah. I hope it wasn't the devil. And I don't know. I mean, we obviously don't know all the details. And Greg and Dana would probably have a better take because they've now interacted with the crystal. One last update here because I was scrolling Instagram yesterday and Greg and Dana posted this video on their Instagram of their cat playing with this crystal ball. I hope you're doing well and surviving this episode. Okay, bye. I also think, and in our conversation with Greg and Dana, they were like, we don't think that there's all this evil.
Right. A lot of the objects have spirits or entities or deities that are just very misunderstood because we just immediately scream, this is something evil, this is something scary. Right. And oftentimes that's not the true backstory of what is haunting this object. They also need help and understanding and assistance sometimes from the right people.
Exactly.
And Greg and Dana seem to be those people a lot.
Exactly.
Dang. Okay. I'm like ice cold. I'm freezing.
I know. I'm not well.
Suddenly.
I like don't love this. And I also really, there's part of me that wants to know about that piece that you didn't talk about. I keep seeing the thing.
We have to let it go. I should have taken the flashing when I was writing it as warning. I didn't. I thought maybe tech issues, maybe paranormal. It's clear it was paranormal. We need to just
noted.
Respect the boundaries of the objects.
Yes. If we hear back from Greg and Dana, we will let everyone know what they said.
Okay. Well, I have one called Haunted Penitentiary, Ghost Hunting, and My Grandma Visiting Me.
Oh, many things.
And this is from, when I said I have one, I mean an email from a listener. Very little context.
You found one in our inbox.
Here for any other episode, you'll understand.
Yes.
Hello, haunted ladies. That was probably the most appropriate beginning for this episode.
Very.
My name is Sarah. I'm from Kansas. I've been listening to your podcast since January of 2020. I started listening thanks to a friend recommending it. Shout out to Becca for participating in the pyramid scheme.
Becca!
Woo! Becca! Woo, woo, woo. I started listening after my grandma passed away.
Were you ever a cheerleader?
No, but I do know you're supposed to have your cinnamon rolls this way.
Okay. I was going to say, you seem more of like a stadium chanter than a cheerleader.
Yeah, no, I'm a sideline hooter.
A hooter. Hoot and hollerer.
It's loud. Yeah. I will scream. Okay. I started listening after my grandma passed away. We were very close and I was devastated when she passed, but your podcast helped me through it by learning all the ways that people we love stay with us even when they die. So thank you so much for the amazing podcast and ghostly community that you have created. I'm not exactly sensitive to spirits, thank God, but my anxiety-riddled brain could not handle many encounters. But upon reflecting, I realize I have been to lots of spooky places and I've had several encounters of my own. And I do want to share them with you.
Yay.
My 2 encounters I will share are from my tour of the Missouri State Penitentiary and from ghost hunting with Dana and Greg Newkirk.
Stop.
I went to the Missouri State Penitentiary for their 2-hour ghost tour at 9 p.m. with my sister and our friend Becca, who I mentioned above. And we went through the tour and we got to explore the grounds of the penitentiary. We saw the cell rooms and the solitude rooms that were in the basement. They even put us in those rooms and they turned off all the lights and it was completely dark. We were terrified, but we had such a good time. There is no electricity throughout the tour in the buildings that we were in, but we caught a few weird red lights and a picture that looks like a man with a red light near his eyes. And then they attach the photo. And Sarah says, you can see in the first 2 photos of we won't put the photos of Sarah's friend, probably for privacy.
Yeah.
But in the first 2 photos, the friend has a red light that seems to be moving. And then in the second photo, it kind of looks like there's a finger pointing. And then the photo with the big atrium, you can see the red light on the second story. And if you zoom in, it kind of looks like a man. So we'll include the one of the atrium.
Oh, that's so creepy. It does look like a man. And you can even see like legs, but they're almost floating.
Oh, interesting.
Do you see that?
Yeah. It kind of looks like...
Kind of looks like a girl in a dress to me.
It does?
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it kind of looks like a man who is covering his privates and kind of like hunched over, like he has to pee so bad. That's the posture I'm getting from it.
To me, it looks like a girl in a yellow, like poofy shouldered dress, and her 2 arms are like kind of bent at odd angles. Like it almost looks like the top of her body is facing one direction and the bottom of her body is facing towards us.
Are we looking at the same thing?
The red light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is just, it's hard to decipher the paranormal.
This is like the black and blue dress and gold and white. What do you see?
Yeah. Because I was like, I feel like the top part is facing forward and the bottom is facing away, but you feel the opposite.
I feel the opposite, which is weird.
Okay, now we're moving on to Greg and Dana's part of this email.
Okay.
Summer 2021, I was able to do a Strange Escapes convention and ghost hunt with my friend Julia. This was located at the Belvoir Winery in Liberty, Missouri, aka the Oddfellows home that you all have covered on your podcast episode.
When?
I don't know. I feel like maybe we did it. We must have.
Honestly, if you said we did, then we did.
Did I do it? It does feel,
I don't know.
It feels familiar.
Maybe we'll be refreshed right now.
We've been through a lot this episode, okay? There's other things. The convention included Dana and Greg Newkirk, John Tenney, Adam and Amy from Kindred Spirits, and some other people. They gave really cool talks about their areas of interest, so I got to hear Dana and Greg talk about the Crone of Catskills, and they now have a documentary about it coming out soon called The Unbinding. It is out, and it is amazing. Everyone should watch it. New season of Hellier, also out.
So good.
Anyway, we got to go ghost hunting with them, and from 10 p.m. to midnight, the Saturday of the convention, we were ghost hunting. And we were in the part of the garage area where it was known that there was a little boy who haunts that area. Dana did the Estes method, which is where you have the noise-blocking headphones, and Dana listens to the radio moving rapidly between channels and says any words that she can hear clearly. And we use this to communicate with the little boy's ghost. Everyone was asking questions to this little boy, and he did answer some of them. I remember thinking, I want to have an experience, but only a positive experience, nothing scary. And I asked the question, do you like candy? And before the session was up, Dana said, wait, you promised candy. And this gave me chills.
Oh my gosh.
We all left little things of candy for the little boy that we had, and it was a very fun experience. I've also done more ghost tours, including the Crescent Hotel and the downtown walking ghost tour of Eureka Springs. I've done a ghost tour on the Elms Hotel and Spa, and I've stayed in that hotel, but I don't have any experiences or interesting photos from those tours.
Okay, but you've done so many ghost tours.
I know.
We got to step up our game.
Sarah's beating us by far.
Sarah, you should have your own podcast. You're cooler than us.
And Sarah went ghost hunting with Greg and Dana before we did too.
Okay, we're trying to be Sarah.
We're copying you.
We're copying you.
I'll end with one more experience. After listening to your podcast on my way home from work back in 2020, after my grandma had passed, I remember sitting in my car and wondering why my grandma hadn't sent me a sign that she was okay or that she was still with us. I then walked into my apartment and I saw that the hand-painted silk scarf that she got for me while we were on a trip to Spain together had fallen down and was set to the side on my floor.
Oh.
Where it landed wasn't where I would have thought that it would land naturally if it had fallen. It was strange, and I took this as my sign that she was okay and she was watching over me. I hung it back up on the wall, and it has never fallen again in the past 3 years. I also had my son in early December of last year, 2022, and it was around the same time that my grandma passed away, December 2019. Is this a coincidence? I think not. Anyway, that's all for me. Thank you for reading. I wish you a very spooky fall. See you on the other side, Sarah.
Sarah, we wish you a very spooky forever. So right back at you. And wow, you've been on so many paranormal investigations. I am really curious what other people see in that photo now because we have such
I know.
different
It's
views
far
of it.
away, so it's hard
is.
to
You have to,
like
zoom
zooming in, trying to see what's below the red light.
Also, I love that the ghost kid, as they were ending the session, was like, "Excuse me, you asked about candy and I was promised."
I heard the word candy. I assumed you were giving some to me.
And they
Haven't
did.
seen any yet.
Always good to bring ghost kids candy. Even if they can't eat it, it's good to give.
The Strange Escapes trips look really fun too.
Let's do it.
Down.
Great. Okay. I have a story from our listener, Abby, and it is called My Haunted Doll. Hello. I wanted to write in and tell you about my haunted doll experience. This particular experience happened when I was around 6 years old. My grandma used to collect and sell glass dolls, and I used to love looking at them and their Victorian-style clothing. They were just so pretty. Anyway, one Christmas, she got me a glass doll, and I was so excited. I kept her on the end of my dresser facing my bedroom door so I could say hello to her when I got home from school. One night, I was laying down in bed and was trying to fall asleep, and as I lay there facing the wall, I heard a female voice say, "Abby, let's play." Thinking it was my younger sister, I said, "Go back to bed, sis." Silence follows for a little bit, and then I hear the voice again, but this time more forceful. "Abby, let's play." As I go to tell my sister to go back to bed, I actually realize that this voice was not hers. Then I hear a scraping noise. I freeze, my heart pounding. This time, I hear a deep voice say, "Abby, let's play."
No.
I turn over and I see that my glass doll has moved from the end of my dresser to the middle and is now facing me. Her usual brown eyes didn't look brown anymore. They looked red.
Ew.
Somehow, I was able to get up the courage, grab the doll, put it on the top of my closet, which is important to note that I'm a huge chicken. So for the fact that I was doing this is crazy. But I went home the next day after school to go to sleep, and I found the doll back on my dresser with one of the shoulders torn. I was terrified. I had left it on the top of my closet. No one had been home all day, and no one knew what happened the night before. I put the doll in a suitcase, locked it in my closet, and it stayed there for almost 20 years. It didn't come out until after I moved. I hope you enjoyed my story. See you on the other side, Abby.
What the hell?
Where is it now?
It's so confusing because it's like, is it the doll? You would think yes, because the activity didn't happen when the doll was put away. But at the same time, I'm like, was this just something that was really interested in just the doll, especially like the "let's play" and like ripping pieces of the outfit? And oh, it's so aggressive.
It's so aggressive, but also how long into owning this doll did this happen? Because it's almost like, was the doll just a vessel and some spirit happened upon it and was like, this is my next target?
Yeah, because it does feel like it came out of nowhere.
Right.
It's like 24 hours, if that, of just boom, 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 things happening.
Terrifying. That's something you donate to Greg and Dana. I feel like I'm so uneasy right now, and like having even just one headphone in is making me so uneasy that I'm like, let's wrap this up.
I know. I literally just winced. I went like, because I saw a shadow come. It's just literally a tree branch casting a shadow.
We're on edge.
We're on edge.
We love you all. If you have any ghost stories or if anything happens to you while listening to this episode, because I feel like this is going to be one of those that it does, please let us know and email us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com. As of right now, Greg and Dana have not responded, but that makes sense because we just send it to them.
People are busy.
I have 100+ texts unread, so I get it.
Same. I'm never going to get to them either.
But we love you all. Thank you for listening. You can get episodes 1 week early and ad-free on Patreon. We have many ways to support us. We also have one extra episode a month on Patreon and Campfire Stories every Tuesday night. So join us on there and rate and review us on iTunes. Pyramid Scheme like Becca and Sarah. Just tell all your friends about us.
Shout out to Jamie Ryan. Jamie edits and produces our podcast, our audio and video. Thank you, Jamie. Mm-hmm. We will surely give you a warning too before you start editing this.
Yes.
But, maybe light a candle or something.
We love you all.
And we will see you on the other side.